Hello everybody, welcome back to 10 Minute Reviews. I'm Jason, bringing you today's episode. The fuzzy one is huffing off to the side. She apparently decided not to put in an appearance today. As always, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, guys. We appreciate all that support. It really means a lot to us. Same with our patrons. We really appreciate that support. Eventually, we're going to do a podcast, but for now, if you guys have anything in particular you'd like to see from us, exclusive, email us, reviewsin10@gmail.com. Put it in the comments, email us on the site. Otherwise, we're going to keep putting these reviews up as an RSS feed, so something you guys can listen to if you guys like to listen to that stuff. Had a lot of requests for podcasts. Eventually, we will do it, I promise. Today, I want to talk about Book 3 of The Adventures of a Jump Space Accountant by Andrew Moriarty. Guys, this series is fantastic. I'll finish the series probably today. I just downloaded Book 5, so I'll probably read it in the next hour or so. And that's the last one that's currently out. Absolutely fantastic. The biggest thing to recommend to it, guys, is it's hilarious. Andrew Moriarty's writing style is great. How he writes conversations, they're a riot. They're an absolute riot. This particular book has an absolutely hilarious 3-page long thing about the bartender telling Jake how he's the backup guy, and then going right down through the scale and how every woman has 4 guys and how those guys all fit, guy A, guy B, guy C. It's hilarious, guys. It's an absolute freaking riot. So Andrew Moriarty's writing style, it's hilarious. It is very, very hilarious. That's the number one reason that I say you have to read this series. You're not going to be able to put it down, guys. The second thing is the character, Jake. As we've talked about in the past, he's likely on the autism scale, although a lot of people are. About 1 in 50 men. I am. But he grows. Moriarty writes it really well. Jake is growing. Jake is learning. Jake is learning from his mistakes. He's learning from his successes, and more importantly, he is gaining confidence. He is gaining confidence. So, although once again this book starts out with Jake failing spectacularly, but Jake is continuing to work for Mr. Dashi as theoretically a spy. Although again, he's pretty stumbling, bumbling, messing everything up type of spy, but he's continuing to work for Mr. Dashi, who's a big political player, and Mr. Dashi is still looking ahead towards a possible conflict likely to occur within this system that has been abandoned by the Empire for reasons unknown, and their resource struggles they're going to have. The last book dealt with trying to find metals and rare earth metals that are going to be needed, and trying to stockpile them. Well, this time around, they're dealing with food. Now, there's a couple parts that really don't have anything to do with Jake. It's more Mr. Dashi and his assistant Jose and their own little schemes that they're doing to try and get ahead of some of the things that happen. And of course they do intersecting. Mr. Dashi seems to be able to plan things very, very, very well. So, Adventures of a Jump Space Accountant, Book 3, starts out with our intrepid hero Jake failing badly. He fails the pilot's exam, so he's not going to be a pilot. So, Mr. Dashi gives him something else to do. He sends him out on a spy mission. He sends him out to investigate missing food. Figure out what's going on with that missing food, where it is going, why it is going, and how it is going. Now, Mr. Dashi most likely knows the whys already, but he sends Jake out to figure out the who's, the how's, and the where's. And he sends him out as, well, accountant, because that's what Jake does. He's an accountant. He can figure out paperwork like nobody's business. So, what he ends up finding out as he is researching it, he finds one particular ship that is likely doing some smuggling. Maybe they don't realize, well, they know they're smuggling, but maybe they don't realize what their cargo is, so he tries to figure out a way to stow on board. Now, there's twofold to this. Partially, they aroused his suspicion. Also, one of the crew members, the daughter of the owner, is smoking hot. So, Jake is, of course, a sucker for women. That's how he keeps messing everything up. And especially when Nadine shows back up. Nadine, once again, is back in the picture and messing with Jake again. Now, I will give the same credit that I gave in Book 2 in that she doesn't shoot him. She doesn't shoot him like she did in Book 1. although she did at one point leave him in a cell with a deadly disease, and also almost had him thrown out of an airlock, but she did not shoot him. However, this time Jake shoots her, which is great, especially considering Jake can't shoot for to save his damn life. But as his misadventures go, Jake starts to grow. He really, really does, because at one point they are kidnapped. They're kidnapped, and they are brought to exactly what he is trying to find. This secret installation that has been stockpiling the food that they've been stealing from his bosses. Now, why are they stockpiling the food? I'm not going to get into that because it's kind of a bit of a spoiler, but it's a deep, deep, deep space installation that is attempting to do something, and they're doing it, but they're not doing it particularly well. Now, Jake, being Jake and being very good at paperwork and rules and regulations and maintenance and engineering, being very good with his brain and with his tools, actually kind of ends up making himself the unofficial boss of this station. He goes from being a captive and a prisoner to being the boss. Of the station. Now, of course, in order to do it, he has to shoot Nadine, which he doesn't particularly bother very much since he's been shot by her already, and other friends of his, although, of course, obviously not fatally. And then he needs to do his planning, his scheming, and his figuring things out to make it work. This is where Jake is really starting to grow in confidence. He's starting to realize that just because he can't run a gun like Nadine can, doesn't mean that he can't get things done. Sometimes get things done better. So he manages to use his knowledge and of accounting of all things, and his knowledge as a belter, as one of the rustic, deep space, deep mining type of families. It's almost like the Hatfield McCoys of space in a way. And he uses that knowledge to, again, ingratiate himself and make himself indispensable, and then end up making himself basically the boss. The main boss is just a thug. He's a leg breaker. And as Jake manages to make him more and more and more and more and more money, he puts Jake more and more in charge. And basically he just ends up being Jake's leg breaker and thug. He is still the boss, but if Jake needs something done and people start to balk, he just says, let's just call the boss. And all of a sudden they don't want to deal with the boss, because they know that if Jake tells them to do something and they don't do it, the boss isn't going to be happy. So he ends up taking over. And again, this book is really where Jake starts to grow into his own. Awesome book. Again, absolutely hilarious dialogue. So after you guys hit those like and subscribe buttons, guys, please check it out. Go check out Adventures of a Jump Space Accountant, Book 3 by Andrew Moriarty. Thank you everybody for watching. Catch you next time. Bye now.